Hello everybody and welcome to Toyah at Home. It's so lovely to be talking to you again. I hope you, your loved ones and everyone around you are doing okay. And I'm getting wildly excited as a very early spring arrives at the thought that we're going to be able to meet in parks soon. I need some human companionship and I can't wait to hug another human again. It's been too long, just too long, but again, optimism is the only way through this, and we all know that one. It's been a great week. Posh Pop is so close to completion. It's now been decided that me, the singer, co-songwriter, I'm going to shoot the album cover, I'm going to shoot the videos. It's something I have always wanted to do, is to have a 360-degree look and interpretation on an album as a single piece of work. So this will be 10 songs where I will be making videos. Some will start in lockdown, but I think that will make it very, very interesting. I will be doing the lighting, the camera work, and obviously the performing. I've never done this before. I'm wildly excited, and I have the most wonderful technical team who will be guiding me through this and who will be doing the editing for me and the color treating. It's, for me, the beginning of something new, and it just fills me with great excitement at the potential of it all. I just can't wait because the songs are so good. Our first question this week is from Mark Hobson. Mark says, do I prefer flowers, plants or vegetables? Well, Mark, the only thing I could do to answer this question was to go out into the garden and take you on a pictorial journey through my garden in this rather glorious early spring. So we're going to start with a fig tree that is in our backyard. It's very, very old. It produces large, green, vanilla-flavored figs, hundreds of them. We sometimes have 2 crops per summer. These are made into fig jams, they go into salads, they go into desserts, and they're gifts to friends and neighbours as well. And then as we walk down the garden, we come to what's now known as the Raven Mirror, where we have a very large mirror a raven is absolutely obsessed with his own reflection in this mirror, to the point that he's destroyed an olive tree in the pot next to the mirror so he can get closer to his own reflection. Then we move into the pond area where we have the most beautiful pagoda tree that from May right through to about the beginning of August is a lime green, and for me that is the essence of summer. Then we move down to the vinery where our peach trees are already going into blossom at the end of February. So we have indoor peaches, indoor figs. I think they're called iced crystal figs. So far, we've had them for 2 years and the crop has not been edible, but figs can be biannual. So I'm optimistic that these figs will become edible at some point. As we go down the garden, we discover some trees that we planted just before lockdown last year. And they were mature catalpa, mature magnolia, and mature tulip trees, and I'm so glad we managed to plant them in time before April when we had the first lockdown, because goodness knows what would happen to these trees if they remained in a garden centre for that summer. I just don't think they'd have survived, and they're beautiful specimen trees. We also have our wonderful Althea Wynne sculpture, and next to the catalpa is what we call the Boo Monster. Althea called it the Minotaur, and that in the summer is completely hidden in shrubbery, which grows up very quickly throughout April and May. And then if people are walking through the garden, they get surprised by it, and that's why we call it the Boo Monster. We have a mulberry tree that was planted 500 years ago, and it's so old it's now propped up by wooden props. It was brought here by a French man who was trying to start a silk industry in England, but he brought the wrong mulberry. Silkworms like white mulberry flowers, and the trees he bought were red mulberry. We have one of these trees, and we believe the other is in Anne Hathaway's cottage in Stratford-on-Avon, and there's one in in Westminster Palace in London. So we really treasure that tree. It's phenomenal. We have a large space where our offices are. It's a huge space that we have not been able to landscape during lockdown because a lot of the workers we use have been furloughed. So we've planted that with meadow flowers. And these flowers started to seed in December. It's just absolutely incredible. Then we flooded and this ground went underwater, but these seedlings survived and now they're growing very quickly. And I'd say within a month, we're going to have beautiful meadow flowers to encourage the bees and the butterflies and all insects. At the end of this section is the River Avon, and we have a specimen Japanese plane tree that was brought here as 3 saplings that were planted together, and over the 200 years this has been growing, it's become one tree. We adore this tree, and we're going to put a swing off the main bough so that we can swing out over the River Avon. We put in vegetable boxes, huge boxes. They're 7 feet by 8 feet. We put those in during lockdown last April so that we could be self-sufficient. And I can't wait for all of those veg to grow again so I can cook my hubby fresh veg. So Mark, thank you for that question, because it was really lovely to answer that for you and to remember our garden in summertime when it is so rewarding. You say, do I find gardening a useful activity? Well, we're lucky we could still keep our gardeners this year. I don't have time for gardening, but I do have time for ferocious weeding, and I'm always weeding and protecting plants and sending copious notes to the gardeners about what to plant next. But I love it. I do love it. For our first song today, we're going to go back to Toyah and the Humans at Trading Boundaries with one of my favourite songs off Humans 1, first album we ever made, and this is called Labyrinth. Humans at the wonderful Trading Boundaries, and the song was Labyrinth. We had the late great Bill Rieflin, Chris Wong, Jake and Igor, and what a fantastic performance that was. Labyrinth started its life in Estonia, which is where the Humans started their life. We were invited to play at the president's birthday party in 2007, I believe it was, and we went to Estonia, Bill Rieflin, myself and Chris Wong, and we wrote Humans 1, and it was just a glorious experience of being in Estonia, which I always view as a storytelling culture. And here we were writing this music especially for the president's birthday, and we performed it exclusively for him on his birthday in a beautiful theatre in the middle of a woodland in Estonia all those years ago. Jean Stobart, you asked, with being somewhat restricted for the last year, will you have to get stage fit again? I tell you where I will have to get stage fit again, Jean, is the pure power of breathing. I'm physically incredibly fit. I go to the gym and have managed to stay going to the gym most of the lockdown, and we have also a private gym in the house. So I've remained physically fit. What I need to start doing is my mental agility, because there is no time to stop and think during a gig. You go from song to song, you are breathing the phrases of the song through your body with the control of your lungs, very much like yoga exercises. And that I will definitely start practicing non-stop as soon as I'm performing live, or that is coming up again. I think the first time I'm going to be singing live will actually be on a TV show promoting Posh Pop. I think that's going to happen before we actually manage to play live concerts again. So yes, I will be getting physically ready and mentally ready to sing live again. I'm physically very, very fit. You also say, is this already part of my fitness regime? Well, I am singing on the album 2 days of the week, and that's been a fabulous experience because my voice has not been overused for over a year, and my voice is at its best when it's in resting time, which means I've got incredible emotional scope and I've got incredible octave scope because my voice is so rested. So in the studio, it's been fantastic. I've been able to sing really quietly, really subtly. I've been able to do acrobatic notation. Simon Darlow had me doing the most amazing phrase the other week where he cut up a recording I did and he shortened the phrases and then he got me to learn it. I mean, I couldn't even do it for you now. I found it so complex to do, but he removed syllables from each word and then said, right, I want you to sing this now live. We did it, and it's just like, it's a rhythm. It's incredible. And I've got to learn to do that on stage. So there are a lot of things that I have to do to get ready to perform live. But I think the one that might surprise you is the fact that when you do a concert, when you're halfway through a song, mentally, you're preparing for the next song. It's hard to explain that, but I'll be in the middle of Thunder in the Mountains and say Neon Womb is coming up. Well, I've got to get ready for Neon Womb during the middle eight of Thunder in the Mountains. Mentally, I have to know what I'm going to say. I have to know how I'm going to announce it. I have to be aware of what that very first line is. And the first line of every song is the key into the song. And I find if someone distracts me before that first line, I'm in trouble. I really have to search for it. I had this going on stage. I think it was Rewind Henley a couple of years ago. I was being announced. The announcer said, ladies and gentlemen, she's been in Quadrophenia. She's an actress. She's a singer. And I was just putting my foot on stage and someone grabbed me. Hey, Toyah, how are you? What you been up to? And I went on stage. I thought, I don't know what the first line is. It's such a brittle place to be that you always have to be prepared. You have to be in those stages of preparation the whole time. You just cannot take it for granted. I'm so surprised when I come across musicians and singers who can literally be talking up until the moment they're introduced and then walk on stage and just do it. It's crazy. How do they do that? Jean, I have to stay focused, focused, focused. We have a really lovely and very moving question next from Chrissy Fields. And Chrissy, I remember this moment and I remember doing this film for you and I will never forget it because I don't know how you have got through this time. I certainly found your story profoundly moving and I had to do quite a few takes before I could just stop crying after you contacted me. Chrissy, you said, I recently lost my sister. My total sympathy to you and your family, Chrissy. It must be so painful to lose a sibling. And you say you sent this wonderful and profoundly heartfelt video about it. Well, Chrissy, it was an honour and thank you for trusting me for doing that video. And you say thank you for that. Your sister, Lynn Haig, was an artist and I would love to ask a question she would have liked to have put to you, Toyah. And her question is, which artists would you like to paint a portrait of yourself, current or past? Or which artist do you admire? Well, I can answer all of that within one group of artists. And it's going to be the Bloomsbury group. I adored their semi-naive style of painting, their very direct way of painting, but also their lifestyle as well. This was a group of people, I think they were conscientious objectors, which means they refused to go to war in their lifetime. They lived together in a group, a creative group, which I've always envied. And the two artists I would love to have painted my portrait. One is an artist I've acted at the Minerva Theatre in Chichester with Annie Castledine directing, and that artist is Dora Carrington. Her art was slightly surreal and she was better known for landscapes that looked like the backs of dinosaurs, these beautiful rolling hills that seemed to have kind of scales on them. But she also did fantastic portrait work of everyone she knew. And a very famous one was of Lytton Strachey, who she was madly in love with, and he broke her heart because he was gay and she was in love with him. Her work has not been as widely and worldly acknowledged as it should be. She was a great talent, a phenomenon. And as it was with artists in the 30s, she was born in 1893 and she took her own life in 1932. So artists of that era, female artists, were generally not recognized at all, and it was almost frowned upon for a woman to become an artist. I know at the Slade School, women were not allowed to do life drawing. They could only draw from models or statues. They were not allowed to be in a room with a naked model, whereas men were. Her life was phenomenal, and I would love her to have painted me. Also, a man that was in love with her, Mark Gertler, fabulous painter. He painted everyone in movement. And Mark was born in 1891 and he passed away in 1939. But he drew very much how I love to draw, using primary colours and people in movement and dancing. You could really see how Mark was either influenced by or influenced Picasso and that movement. He was ahead of his time, he was a wild child and had this gorgeous, gorgeous use of colour. So Dora Carrington and Mark Gertler, I would love to have painted me. And thank you so much, Chrissy Fields. I send you and your family big, big love, and I am thinking of you. Warwick Williams, you ask, I wish I could answer this question, Warwick. How do I deal with insomnia? It's just crazy. I can't deal with it. I try and use the time productively. I have some nights where I know that I'm just not going to think. It's not going to be a bright, starry night. And then I just turn the telly on, or I have a very long hot bath and read a book. But what I never ever do, Warwick, I never ever lie in bed just wishing I could fall asleep, because with chronic insomnia that is never going to happen. I know that I will sleep deeply and feel relaxed if I can fall asleep between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. Now this is a biphasic sleep pattern that is European. It's the way the farmers and the peasant class system used to sleep. They would have to work in all the daylight hours, and they would go to bed from about, I think, 11 at night to about 1 in the morning, and between 1 in the morning and about 6 in the morning they'd do their socializing. They would get up and then they would sleep until about 10 a.m. It's called biphasic, and it's almost exclusively to do with European DNA. I know this because I've read quite a lot of books about insomnia, and it came from people that had to work at very strange hours, working with harvests, working with planting, working with the cycles of the moon. So I now prefer to see myself as biphasic rather than insomniac, because I think insomniac is a word that you link to anxiety and tension and frustration. So I try and work with how I am made. Sometimes I can work through the night painting. I do these lovely lyric art sheets for people, and I do those through the night, and that is really fulfilling. Sometimes I can practice my guitar late into the night, which I love. But if my brain is tired, there is nothing I can do. I just have to accept you're going to turn the telly on, put your favourite box set on, and just watch TV and be kind to yourself. That's all I can recommend. I have tried everything from chamomile tea to lavender oil. You just have to learn to live with your sleep patterns and work with your sleep patterns. I could never do a 9-to-5 job because I just don't sleep that way. So I hope, Warwick, that you can find your natural pattern of sleeping and be able to use that as part of the natural rhythm of your life. And thank you for that question. Graham Morefoot, you've asked a fabulous question, and thank you so much for asking this. February has been LGBTQ plus History Month. Although we've come a long way, there's still lots of inequality and battles. Graham, you say that Toyah, I'm very comfortable and supportive when talking about people identifying as third gender or non-binary, which is something people are still struggling with. How do you approach situations where people are dismissive of gender fluidity and we need to stand up for others? Well, Graham, this was a great learning curve for me doing the stage play of Jubilee, which opened at the Royal Exchange in Manchester 2-3 years ago and then moved to the Lyric Hammersmith in London. I was working with a gender fluid company. Very, very beautiful people. I adored them. Very clever, very politically active, very in tune with language, and they preferred to be referred to they, them, it. And I found that difficult because firstly, I have this habit of saying generally, come on guys, let's go grab a sandwich. And I had to deal with my own word blindness when it came to words that are very gender specific. And I like to think I'm getting better at it all the time. And the cast of Jubilee were very, very forgiving. They realised that partly it was generational, it was my age group, and they knew full well that I'd worked with absolute LGBTQ pioneers all my life, so they know my sympathies, and every now and then they would just remind me of not being gender specific. I have a history that when I was in my teens, right through to about the age of 25, that I was always uncomfortable with being identified as a woman before being identified as a person and an individual. And I think that has helped me be supportive, aware, to continually learn when I'm with people who are not quite sure of their sexual identity and their sexual placement, to just treat them as individuals, as people, as creative human beings. If I was allowed to 40 years ago to tick a box where it said I prefer to be gender neutral or third gender, I would have ticked that box. I'm still heterosexual as a sexual creature. I just love men and I love my husband and I'm very, very attracted to men. So I am heterosexual, but I would so prefer to be third gender in that I'm not put in a compartment by reproductively being female. So I have all the sympathy in the world for people who are examining who and what they are, who know that they are in the wrong body. I always felt I was in the wrong body, but as I get older, that's becoming more comfortable for me. But I still prefer to be Toyah the human being and Toyah the person. I always stick up for people, and obviously there is hidden cultural bias in certain people who are not aware and would be heartbroken if they knew that they were showing kind of bias or prejudice in any way towards anyone. And this is a generational thing. We're all learning. We're all on that learning curve. And I know for one that I am very capable of saying things that I do not mean to offend or hurt. And it's purely because I need to be very conscious when I use language. Occasionally, especially within the music industry, when I'm working with almost exclusively male colleagues, I just have to say it's not funny. It's been done, it's been overplayed, it's been and gone. Let it go. It's just not funny. And you have to remember that my generation grew up with comedy where people thought it was funny for men to dress as women, and they thought it was funny for men to act gay without realizing what it's like for that community and what it has been like for that community for hundreds of years, and that they've been victimized and made unwelcome, have not been able to be in the armed forces, have not been able to love someone of the same sex. So I'm always incredibly positive, and when I do correct someone, I do it in a way of please think of how that person feels. Please put yourself in an empathic situation with how that person feels and how that person wants to move forward. Do not make enemies by being blind. And, you know, we're getting there. We are getting there. But I do appreciate, Graham, that it is your community that are the ones that are still suffering. And Graham, thank you so much for trusting me with that question. It's a very, very precious question, and I hope I've given you an answer that you were looking for. Before we go, I just want to mention Jordan Maxwell. Now, in Agony Aunts about 2 weeks ago, Robert and I answered Jordan's questions, but you people might not listen to Agony Aunts. And Jordan's 21 years old, and he feels that he has no idea what he wants to commit himself to. He says he goes between wanting to be a music historian, an artist, a museum curator, or a primary school teacher. And I flagged up the fact that, Jordan, those are all great things to do that you can do throughout a long and varied life. None of them will ever go away. And I said to Jordan, what brings you joy? Which of those, when you think about getting up in the morning and doing those jobs, makes your heart sing? Because all of us need to do jobs in our lives where we wake up with an open heart and can't wait to do the job we do and be with the people we need to be with. So I'm going to repeat the answer to this because so many people said that it was a really informative answer. If you need to be with other people and you need noise and stimulation, then be a primary school teacher. Children are endlessly inspiring and they need you and they show you that they need you. If you need quiet and to be surrounded by very intelligent researchers protecting things, then be a museum curator. If you need to be really quiet and isolated and alone with your thoughts and to meditate a lot, then be an artist. And if you need to be surrounded by music and history, then be a music historian. But what I would say, Jordan, is all of those jobs are things that you can revisit all through your life. So whatever choice you make now at the age of 21, you're not locked in. You can move on, you can expand, you can go from one to the other and back again as long as you believe in the three most important words in our lives, which are education, education, education. We all need to keep learning, every single one of us. So thank you so much for that question. And thank you all of you for your questions. I have loved answering them. And in celebration of the LGBTQ History Month, I would like to go out with an acoustic version of Sensational that was recorded in a radio station quite a while back with myself, Chris Wong, and the wonderful late great Colin Hines. And this really is an acoustic version recorded early in the morning in a radio studio. Before I go, I want to say thank you everyone who's been asking for video messages. I so adore doing it, and the naughtier and the more it winds up your friends, the better. It makes me laugh so much. And thank you for ordering the lyric art. I adore doing it. I feel so connected to you through it. So this song is off In the Court of the Crimson Queen, and it's sensational, and big love to all of you and the LGBTQ community. I hope February has been everything you wanted and you needed it to be. Lots of love from Toyah.
You'll be fine, we're gonna fly. We are invincible. We are. Hey little starlight, hey little soul. Hey little girl, come rock and roll. Hey little satellite, burning bright. God made you to light the night. We are invincible. we are. Hey, little star, look at you, you're so beautiful. Just like this universe, you are sensational. Hey, little dreamer, look at you. You are so wonderful. Just like a burning supernova, you're sensational. Hey, little dreamer, you are the one. Come with us, we're on the run. Hey, little wonder, let's fly. Touch skin, watch sky ignites. We are invincible. We are. Hey, little star, look at you, you're so beautiful. Just like this universe, you are sensational. Hey, little dreamer, look at you. You are so wonderful. Just like a burning supernova, you're sensational. 'Cause you're a star. Star. Hey, little dreamer, you are the one. Don't let them steal your sun. We are invincible. We are. Hey, little star, look at you, you're so beautiful. Just like this universe, you are sensational. Hey, little dreamer, look at you. You are so wonderful. Just like a burning supernova, you're sensational. Hey, little star, look at you, you're so beautiful. Just like this universe, you are sensational.